Here we are. Mike, are you an AirPods guy?
I wear them sometimes. I would say I don't love the way that they feel.
Interesting. CJ and I were just saying I loved AirPods version 1, even though they weren't built to like stay in while you're exercising or whatever. But AirPods Pro and AirPods Pro 2, I have a million connectivity and charging issues. And I want to like them because the thing I like about Apple products is they just like work. You know, like you buy the AirPods and you open them up and your phone is like, oh, you have new AirPods.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, but I'm getting irritated for a piece of technology that is $250. Like they shouldn't be so annoying.
I think I have weird shaped inner ears. Which is why they're always kind of loosey goosey. But that's why, I just shove some Q-tips in there and then listen to whatever
while you have the AirPods in.
Screeching noise my eardrums make. So it's all good. Where are we at, Siege?
Childhood bedroom. We're back.
Childhood bedroom.
For the weekend, maybe.
What's the owl up on the wall?
It was like a YouTuber who did like video stuff, like a videographer YouTuber, Peter McKinnon. This is like brand. So I think everyone in my age group had one of these little scratch maps of like places that you've been, and it's just all like states in the tri-state area. Pretty much.
Yeah, you're zoomed out a little bit too much there.
Yeah. It's just a big picture of Maryland.
Yeah.
Well, I'll save that for the pod. Save it for the pod. All right.
Let's do
it. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Oh, Mike got his DraftKings Sportsbook hat. There it is.
And wearing it.
And there it is. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Mike's wearing his LL Pavorsky ring, I bet.
Nope.
No wedding band.
It's next to my bed.
Okay. And Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process at briggsauction.com, as well as Kinetic Skateboarding. Very special this weekend. Kinetic Skateboarding goes through Sunday. Get 20% off any hoodie by using the code Ricky Hoodie, but it's spelled HOODY. I don't know. We'll have to get to that in a second. On the show today, the Sixers make another huge comeback with another huge game winner, putting Joel Embiid back on the MVP map and pointing to a possibility that Live Ricky 5 could be dangerously optimistic. Dangerously. Also on the show, Matisse Thybulle explains why he never improved in Philadelphia. And Zach Lowe, for some reason, making his own case to get banned from the podcast. Very disappointing on his side. All of that, as well as finally getting into the Ringer Top 100, as well as your voicemails and emails, as always. We're up to 8,700 subscribers on YouTube. If we don't get to 10,000 by the time the playoffs begin, CJ loses his job. Very disappointing. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe and enable notifications, as well as Spotify. Make sure you follow the show. And if you're just listening as a podcast, you might as well, if you'd like to save CJ, go onto YouTube, find the Ricky, and subscribe. I did mention Kinetic. Last I checked, 67 different hoodies on kineticskateboarding.com, as well as a very cool, I'm a big camo hoodie guy, a very cool new Kinetic camo hoodie, not a zip up, but a pullover. If you go to kineticskateboarding.com, a lot of selections of hoodies, and use code Ricky Hoodie, RICKYHOODY. It's not how I think you spell hoodie, Ben, but spell it with a Y for the promo code. You get 20% off any hoodie today, Saturday, tomorrow, Sunday, kineticskateboarding.com. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Oh no. Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I am Spike Eskin, along with a gentleman who is all the way back in, even though he will not admit it. That is one Mike Levin.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think I am.
Everyone knows you're in, but you. It's
Well, that's fine, and then that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm all right to not. I think that's a healthy place to be. Yeah, I mean, Joel's the man. Incredible stuff. We can talk about a bunch of things, but just broadly, like this team is proving they can win games when guys are injured, when they're down early.
Yep.
When Anfernee Simons shoots lights out, when all that stuff. This is the third 20-point comeback of the season for them. I'm liking. I just watched the game a couple minutes ago, so I haven't seen if there's any Tobias or PJ Tucker injury stuff, but like cycling through like who's hot towards the end of games. Doc doesn't have several starting lineups, but he is showing a willingness to go to several finishing lineups, which to me is more important. And so I'm happy to see it.
Actually, CJ, while we're talking about it, if you go to Sixers Adam's page, he posted a video of asking Doc about that exact same thing. Now, the only reason Sixers Adam posted it is because his voice is in it, and he admits that in the tweet.
The only one to hear it.
But I made Sixers Adam. I was like, you got to start asking Doc some questions, and fucking, he's been ripping them off, and now he's piling on. Here we go. Here's the answer. So Adam, you can hear Adam's question actually in this, but he asked about that exact finishing lineup.
That was very effective.
Your closing lineup was plus 12 in the last 6 minutes. What were you seeing from that lineup that made you
they were making shots. They were making the right defensive plays. So we stayed with it. We had Melt, Tyrese, and James on the floor with George and Joel. I don't know if we've had that lineup on the floor very often, but it was effective. And that's what you do in games. You make an adjustment and you go with it. That was very.
So a coach
Adam bursts in with lineup data. Actually, here's how many times.
That now, Doc Rivers, famous for his adjustments and the lack of rigidity, just to go with whoever's hot, as he explains to everyone. But yeah, he finishes with a lineup that, it's specifically interesting for this game because the entire game, it seemed to me, because the Sixers kept getting close and then falling back behind, and kept getting close and then falling back behind. And I was not nervous about this game, but what was going through my head is specifically, are they going to be able to get like 4 stops in the last 6 minutes of the game to win this game? Because they're scoring at will, but so are the Blazers. Like, they're both scoring at will. And to close it with Maxey, Harden, Yang all on the floor at the same time, when you had trouble getting stops, it was just like, it isn't really what you would think would work. But credit to Rivers and credit to the Sixers for being able to close with it. It is interesting too. Embiid hits the huge shot, and we'll get to Embiid and MVP and all that stuff in a second. But going down the stretch, there were like, I don't even know if they were in a row, but there were 3 plays where Embiid misses a jumper, then Embiid turns it over. Then there's a Harden offensive foul on when Simons was trying to guard him, and it looked like they weren't executing down the stretch. And then we get the big shot from Embiid. But to your point, like, just another comeback from them. The Blazers are not a great team, but they're not a bad team either. Yep. So, they just kept hunting it, and this is, Embiid teams specifically have not been famous for their resilience over the last 5 years. And they've been continually resilient this year. And I don't know, I think Kyle Neubeck has made this point. Like, I would not bet on them to win the championship, but you cannot ignore the fact that they have been far more resilient this year and better, more effective in down the stretch offensively than they've ever been in the Embiid era.
Yeah. I mean, he keeps making that point. this team is different. Both Embiid and Kyle, not together making that point, but separately making that point that they feel that they've are proving it repeatedly that like they're not this team doesn't suffer from the same issues that previous teams have, and that's primarily because of how locked in Harden and Embiid are capable of getting. Yeah, I mean, even in that last play when Embiid spun middle from the nail, where Rich Hoffman had this point in his article that he's doubled his touches per game from the elbow this year. And then in that play, they talk about it in the postgame. Doc and Joel both giving James credit for improvising that last play call when initially out of the timeout it was supposed to be like a dribble handoff or a fake dribble handoff, but because Joel caught it where he caught it, Harden cut away from it, improvising in the moment, which they credited him for a high IQ play to spread the floor, and it's just an indication of how much trust is built there between those two guys, and a great call from Kate Scott on the Embiid game winner. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I trust the offense. I really do trust the offense.
He's in.
And it's the defense. I'm not going to. And it's the defense that's a problem. But as good as Embiid was tonight, or last night, and he was. He's embracing being roll guy, and he doesn't roll all the way to the rim, but he screens and rolls a lot, and it's easier to get him looks through that because of Harden's passing. He's been catching it on the move more lately. It feels like he's finding different ways to impact the game offensively, and his mid range was automatic tonight after, for him, not as good of a stretch mid range wise. He's been more getting all the way to the rim or even shooting threes. He only took 1 3 tonight.
7 rebounds for some weird reason.
Yeah, the rebounding is rebounding for sure.
He's doing this on purpose.
To me, every game now becomes like, what is the defense going to look like? Yeah. Because I trust the offense to look good enough, and there's enough ways to beat you. But it's like, what's the defense going to look like? I thought it was interesting in the second half. Doc basically did what everyone else has been doing to us during the Matisse era, which is put your best defender on him so that they can then just roam off of him.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. So we got some, Embiid got some stuff from that. It actually, Matisse did get a lob out of it, but it wasn't successful enough for Portland that they actually didn't play Matisse the rest of the game, basically. But the thing for me, the most exciting thing was Maxi's defense tonight. That was the thing that I liked the most. Obviously, Simons got hot, and it's hard to know because they were switching some stuff, like who was on who or whatever. But from my eye, he really played excellent, stay with them, locked in type defense, where he used Simons and Dame weren't quicker than Maxey in anticipating, and he didn't foul much. He just stuck with them, and he's still not good at fighting through screens, but he didn't have to go through that main tonight. When he's on an island and guys think that they can go one-on-one with him, he's at least got to be quick enough to and disciplined enough to stay with him. And I thought it was a really nice game. And then the late game play where hit ahead in transition, where he anticipated it and knocked it off of Simons for a turnover. That was a huge play, and it's just nice to see them doing that. Nice to see him getting credit for that. It's the defense, man. This is a new thing for us because the offense is so good. But it's really the defense that is going to carry them wherever they go in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. And that is still to be figured out. And on top of that a game where they close with a lineup like this. Actually, to go back to your Maxey point, it is interesting to credit Maxey on a night like this where, Simons goes off but down the stretch, Simons is a shot maker, he is, and he doesn't need a lot of room, and he doesn't need a wide open shot to hit shots. But I think down the stretch you could see both Simons and Lillard, they had to take tough shots.
Yep.
And sometimes they're going to make them and sometimes they're not, but it does not. Maxey being good at defense is not going to be able to stop those guys from making tough shots. So I think sometimes when you're looking at things like that, which credit to you did, you have to look at sort of more than what the line of the guy he's guarding is, and just sort of watch the game and see what it looks like as opposed to what the results are.
For sure. I mean, they only had one bucket in the fourth quarter. Those guys, Lillard and Simon, and Dame didn't have a great game
No.
By his standards anyway. I think maybe like the ankle thing or whatever happened to him, like maybe impacted it. That's why he only took 15 shots in 39 minutes. But yeah, I mean, Maxi's energy I thought was great. He had a put-back dunk, which I love to see. The team generally, like after looking slow and not great in the first half, they had 12 offensive rebounds, which is not something that they do very often. I think it's just like providing energy and bringing guys in. It was a nice win. I mean, yeah, it's a game they should win. Mediocre team playing them at home. But it was nice to see that, and it was nice to see everybody. You know, this team has a bunch of playable players, and Doc like kind of pushing the right buttons to like get to the finish line is nice to see. And you know, as far as Joel and James go, like that's the bread and butter. It's pick and roll, it's pocket pass, it's finding everybody in the right spots, and it's, you know, spraying out to three, whatever. But like the benefit of having Maxey out there, even though we only took 8 shots in this game, like everybody's so focused on Joel and James, like defense is pinching in. All of a sudden the ball gets swung to Maxey, and it's like, oh, we have like a missile. Like the defense cannot rotate quickly enough to prevent how fast he is with the ball. And he had a couple plays where he got inside later in the game. It was really nice to see. It's nice when they win games. I feel better when they win games. You know, Harden's drawing defenders. His ISO percentages have gone way up this season. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on the offensive end, and I'm squinting to see the good stuff on the defensive end.
It's funny you're mentioning Maxey like being a rocket, especially when the other two primary offensive guys are like the slowest guys you've ever seen. You know, it's just Embiid and Harden, and all of a sudden there's Maxey. It's almost like you're like, what the fuck is going on here? He almost looks faster because he's playing with those guys.
Yeah.
So I looked at, you know, I feel like we got to do this right here. Bring back Vegas Mike, given that Mike was just in Vegas.
That's right.
DraftKings odds. Two specific odds I went to look at this morning. We'll get to one.
I wore my Briggs Auction hat to Vegas, by the way.
Oh, you did? And you're wearing your DraftKings
not to Vegas,
hat.
to Disneyland.
Oh, to Disneyland.
Which is, they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Same place generally.
And Mike wearing the DraftKings hat. All right, there's two odds I wanted to look at this morning. One, not title odds, but odds to win the Eastern Conference for the Sixers on DraftKings Sportsbook, as well as Joel MVP odds. So what would you think the odds the Sixers have to win the Eastern Conference this year?
To win the East?
Yeah. I can give you one hint if you'd like.
They're third.
They are third, sure.
Was that the hint?
No, I was going to give you the actual odds of the favorite.
Can I guess the odds of the favorite, which would be
sure
Boston?
Yep.
Plus 220?
Plus 130.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet that.
Yeah.
Then I'll say we're at plus 450.
Very close, Vegas Mike. Plus 475. The Bucks at plus 185. And we'll get to this, of course, a little bit later as we talk about Zach and his potential banning. But Joel Embiid MVP odds. Jokic
I saw him.
Oh, you saw him. Yeah. Okay. So I appreciate you for being honest about that.
Come on.
Yeah. Jokic at minus 310, but Embiid now at plus 320, which is like half of what it was a week ago as Nikola Jokic loses to the Spurs last night. I couldn't imagine cheering for an MVP candidate whose team would lose to the Spurs.
In March instead of November.
Yes. DraftKings Sportsbook, who we love, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Right now, use promo code RTRS when you sign up if you're a new customer. Bet $5. Any pregame moneyline bet, get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. And you can boost your winnings with each leg with the same game parlays, with the stepped up same game parlays at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if they're the presenting sponsor of your podcast, they send you hats.
That's right.
Download the app now and use code RTRS. New customers bet $5 on any pregame moneyline bet for the NBA and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code RTRS. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I wanted to Tobias or B-ball right now. I wanted to talk quickly about Tobias, but there was also a a b-ball Paul
sequence
that was maybe the greatest NBA sequence of all time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. CJ, why don't you throw it up there? Steal. Whoa! Jordan style layup, which
Finds
is
it.
an air ball. Gets it again.
Goes again.
Whoa!
Up, left.
Hook
He
shot.
hits that.
Missed.
He usually hits that. Gets thrown away by a very upset Drew Eubanks, who tries to throw it off him. Not enough.
And then back down on the other
he'll get the block
side
at the other
with the
end.
block. What an insane stretch.
The best. That's what you get. That's what you want. That's what this team needs out of him.
There were so many. By the way, this game may have set a record. I think he missed a shot middle of the second quarter, and an easy shot. The number of times when he set a screen for Harden and he was wide open, and signaling, and Harden wouldn't pass it to him.
No, wouldn't give it to him.
No.
Harden also got called for an offensive foul one time when he had Paul for a lob, and he was like, "I'm not giving you the ball. I'm not doing it. It's not. I'd rather run into Dame's chest than pass the ball to you here. Not a chance." But there was one play. Speaking of b-ball Paul,
yeah,
there was a play that I loved.
Okay.
It was in the third, I think, early fourth quarter, and I'm going to give the coaching staff credit for a play that I liked.
Okay.
It was Harden up top with the ball. Niang comes to set a screen, slips it. As Niang is receiving the ball from Harden off that slip screen, B-ball Paul comes up and screens the screener. Niang's guy. B-ball Paul rolls. Everyone collapsed because of how good Niang has been of the past few games of shooting, and not just shooting. He shoots so fast. They cannot be close enough to prevent him from shooting, that he doesn't need a window at all. And that's why I think that he's going to be in the playoff rotation still, because he just that is such a weapon with guys like Harden and Embiid. Anyway, they collapse onto George because of that quick release. B-ball's rolling, and it's a perfect pass to B-ball on the roll. Wide open lane. Here comes the thunder dunk, and I think somebody either he lost it or somebody tapped it away. So it was frustrating to not get the finish off of it. But I love the play call. I love utilizing George's both passing and quick shooting, and how much that they need to account for that. And B-ball being willing to put down a dunk would have been nice there. But I need to see that play next game. I need to see that exact play executed and in a bucket.
Now, Tobias, it wasn't long ago, I don't know, a week ago, 5 days ago, that both Harris and PJ missed the game due to injury. Harris with a calf thing and PJ Tucker with a back thing. Harris or Tucker has pretty much been the same guy all year, and I think we basically know what to expect from him in the playoffs. We'll see. Tobias has been very, very, very up and down this season, from new player to old player to worse version of old player. So last night, not only is he on the bench for the final, 10 minutes of the game, but also finishes the game with 8 points, 5 boards, and goes 0 for 3 from 3. And I don't know if it's a physical thing, but it also looks like he could be. He was just playing when he was playing well earlier in the year, and it was highlighted by the sharpshooter and the Ricky appearance. He just felt like he was super confident in his ability to shoot quickly and be that guy. And I hate to project what I think somebody might be thinking. Maybe he's got a physical thing, but he just does not look as confident or comfortable in that role today as he did then. And I don't know if it's a confirmation bias of the results, but he seems to have lost the thread on that and is having trouble getting it back. And I'm a little worried about him in the playoffs, to be honest with you.
For sure. I mean, I think that, just speculating on what it could be, spent all summer being ready to be this guy, and was planning for the quick shots, and was working with his trainer and getting used to you're going to be Harrison Barnes. You're going to be Harrison Barnes. And then over the course of these months, not as much time with the trainer, not as much time practicing, all that stuff. And I think it just sort of reverts back to the kind of guy that he was. So hopefully that week post Live Ricky, pre first round of the playoffs, he can get get back to himself of the guy that they need him to be in this run here.
Should he maybe stop by the live Ricky so we can have a conversation?
I think that'd be great. I think he should stop by the live Ricky just to heckle B-ball.
Yes.
Which would be very fun.
Throw stuff at him.
Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, I think that they need him to be that kind of player because there just isn't, Jalen McDaniels has been good and he had a couple nice plays tonight. I love that two-handed dunk. Thank you for putting that down, Jalen. But he's not a good enough shooter to make you respect it. And George Niang is a great shooter, but is obviously tough on the defensive end. Dan House, we can talk to every other like non-Embiid Maxey Harden player has some weakness, whether they don't shoot it quick enough, or they're not big enough to defend bigger guys, or they're not able to dribble, or whatever it is. Like Tobias can do it all. He just like has to. He has to be super focused on like pretending to be that 3-and-D guy that the Sixers just don't really have.
I think this is a good question. This came from Abe before we get to the potential banning of Zach Lowe, which I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it's something that we need to discuss. Abe asks, send an email to rightstoRickySanchez@gmail.com. What is Embiid's most iconic shot? I'd say the Raptors windmill from several years ago, but I'm curious to hear other contenders.
Oh, I was going to say the Raptors.
The Raptors 3.
Game winner, yeah.
Yeah.
In game 5?
Yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
No, it would have been 4 because it was
game 4.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Last year. That's pretty good.
I mean, I think the windmill is the iconic Embiid moment, but it's not the shot. Yeah. Like I don't think about the shot that same way. I think the Raptors game winner is the most ridiculous that a center did that sort of thing in a and it was also a particularly meaningful game. It was a playoff game. Yeah. I think it's pretty much it has to be that shot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hopefully he does a shot like that in, not the first round this year.
Yeah.
Would be good.
Adam says in the chat, it was game 3, you scrubs. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. There's been a lot of fucking games, man. I'm just like
I don't have a good memory for that stuff.
Yeah.
I have good memory for like naming the 2013 Sixers, but I don't have a good memory for like what year something happened or what game or whatever.
We got this voicemail to 833 Lickface.
Fucking shit. Zach Lowe this morning apparently releases an article where he's talking about Denver's defense for a paragraph, but instead of talking about Denver's defense, he just shits on Embiid's playoff performances and makes every excuse in the world available for Jokic. So if we're talking about bias, this guy is easily up there with the worst of them.
What Zach Lowe wrote in a section of his article that was supposed to be about Michael Porter Jr., I think. It is not some crime to be skeptical about the Denver Nuggets defense holding up in the playoffs. Nikola Jokic is not a rim protector. Parentheses. It is a crime, a basketball crime anyway, to pretend as if Jokic has had less postseason success than Joel Embiid.
Who is saying that?
Both have been centerpieces on undermanned teams which were dispatched in the first round. Jokic last season against the eventual champions, Embiid in the bubble against the Boston Celtics with Ben Simmons out. Jokic has reached one conference final, Embiid has never been that far. Jokic's individual postseason numbers are better. None of this should matter in the MVP debate, but there appears to be a misconception in some corners that Jokic's lack of postseason success should be held against him relative to Embiid.
What corners?
Zach, you got to think about this less. Nobody is saying that. I think the only thing that people are saying is that if Nikola Jokic is going to win his 3rd straight MVP, there should be some postseason success surrounding it. They said the same thing about Giannis. And I think all that we've said, that you've repeated over and over again, is fairness.
That's right.
Fairness and evenness and
kindergarten
equity.
Teacher. And I think that it's everyone being...
Zach, you're being a baby.
He's being a little bit of a baby, and he's talking about it way too much, and he's upset. Yep. He's upset about how much he's talking about it. He doesn't need to.
Yep.
It's a toss-up, and it's been a toss-up for a few years. And for one guy to keep winning the toss-ups seems unfair and weird.
Seems unfair.
And very weird.
So weird.
And it's not like that guy has had, neither is our guy, but that guy hasn't had the playoff success to like demand it.
Right.
So it's just
He
like,
doesn't get
if it's a
benefit of the
tie,
doubt.
tie shouldn't keep going to the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 1.5 games up on the Sixers in the standings. It's a negligible difference.
And the Sixers are playing in the tougher conference this year, I think is fair to say. The Eastern Conference is a tougher conference than the Western Conference is.
It's just like, people are thinking about it too hard. He's probably going to win a third straight MVP. It's ridiculous.
So stupid.
He's a very good he's an excellent player. I really enjoy watching him. Like, there's nothing about it. It's just like when people in 20 years or whatever go back and look at the league and who won MVP these years, they're going to say, oh, like Jokic must have been the best player in the league, like by a large margin during this era. And that's just like hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
It just really hasn't been the case. Embiid is going to, in all likelihood, especially with Luka going down for a little bit, lead the league in scoring for a second straight year while adding to his total from last year. He's also
proving the point that you can be a great center, but only getting 6 rebounds if you feel like it.
Yeah, he's not a good rebounder. Jokic is definitely a better rebounder for sure.
Proving a point.
But yeah, I mean, it's a tie. It's been a tie for a couple of years now, and to keep giving one guy the tie is like, it's just very odd and invites the other conversations that people are having.
You're being a big baby. What's the phrase? Me think that thou doth protest too much. I think there's a part of Zach Lowe.
Me think you be big baby.
Me think you big baby.
Is the Shakespeare line, I think.
Yes, that is exactly from Shakespeare. I love too that he's starting off his defense, his big baby defense. And Zach, I love you, but you're being a big baby on this one. His big baby defense of Nikola Jokic by saying, I don't think it's possible their defense can't hold up in the playoffs because the center is not a rim protector. Also, he's the most valuable player in the league. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Here's my deal for all of the Jokic people. Here's my offer olive branch. If you just fucking stop it and do what's right this year, I'm not going to bring up any of the big baby stuff you've done. I'm not going to bring up any of this. I'm not going to bring up in 10 years when the Jokic MVPs maybe look like the Nash MVPs a little bit. I'm not going to say anything about it. I will let it go if you just back off and don't write paragraphs like this. And I don't know how you're going to decide, Mike. I'm not going to ban. I don't think Zach should be banned for this. However, you got to stop it. You're walking a very thin line. It's getting very dangerous for a lot of you. And Zach, you see what happened to Kevin O'Connor. Even though he co-hosted the pod, he is still banned. I don't need that to happen to Zach. Zach's a sweet guy, a smart guy. I don't need it to happen to him.
It's just very odd. There's a lot of odd stuff. It's just
so
like
weird.
It's everyone is saying it's so close, and like, you're not wrong if you think this, and you're not wrong if you think this, and it's just like, well, then just like don't give the guy 3 straight MVPs like that. It just seems really like simple in that sense, and everyone's pretending like there's this like one catch-all stat or one catch-all game that is going to like decide it, when really it's just like it's really very close, and one of them should not get all the cookies. Spread the cookies around.
That in fact, Jokic looks like a person who
I knew you were going to go for. I knew you were going to go for that.
Share.
I knew you were going to go for that. I knew you were going to do it, and I said it anyway.
LL Pavorsky Jewelers got Mike and his now wife Alyssa their wedding bands.
I got it during the intro. Alyssa brought me the band.
There we go. Bang. There we go. He has sold well over 300 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners engagement rings. Will be on site at Live Ricky 5. Has been on site at all of the Live Rickies and all of the Fly the Processes. Has been in business for more than 3 decades at the same spot right there at 707 Walnut, and is the truest, the first Ricky sponsor, and no offense to the other sponsors who I love dearly. LL is the truest because he was the first and he believed in us before anyone else. Everyone who has gone to LL for an engagement ring or anything says the same thing. It's like, wow, he talks your ear off. But then the second thing is always like, wow, he is everything that you said he's going to be. He really treats everyone just like fucking like VIPs. Like every Ricky person that goes in there gets treated amazing. And don't think, you're going to buy an engagement ring I need to spend X or I need to spend Y to get treated, great by LL. No. Every Ricky listener, whether you're local in Philadelphia, there's a lot of people who have purchased rings from other places. Sometimes they see them in person. Sometimes they do everything online, or sometimes they do it over the phone. Everyone who goes to LL feels the same way. If you're getting married, if you need an engagement ring, if you need jewelry, LL Pavorsky is the only person you can go to. 707 Walnut, as I said, and he does it by appointment. That's how he wants to do it, so he can spend the correct amount of time and attention with you. 215-627-2252. Email him, lee@llpavorsky.com. Tweet at him at @llpavorsky. He is a generous supporter of Providence Animal Center and Matisse Community Fridge, our current charitable recipients. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Now with me everywhere I go. You think it's Alyssa? No, it's LL.
So Matisse Thybulle was traded by the Sixers to the Portland Trail Blazers. And he made his first return last night. They did do I didn't see the video, but they did do a tribute video to him, as they should. They do to everybody. Mm-hmm. His local agent, Keith Pompey, wrote a couple of quotes from Matisse earlier this week. He said, no offense to Keith. Shout out 9/11 alarms. It's hard when you're on such a talented team.
How else are we going to remember?
Yes.
The 9/11 alarm.
It's hard when you're on such a talented team and that team has so much demand to win now. And for whatever reason, I fell out of favor in the lineup, or whatever you call it. And I didn't really feel like there was an opportunity to really showcase it. Now it feels like I have all the opportunity in the world. The opportunity is there, and it's going to continue to be there. I'm only receiving encouragement to take advantage of it. Any player that's playing out of a place of fear is going to struggle. Like, there's going to be friction in everything you try to do. But when you play for a place of just discipline and receptiveness to what the game's giving and what you're reading from it, I think there's a lot more opportunity. And for me, I specifically feel like there was a lot more fear-based play in Philadelphia as opposed to what I'm doing here in Portland. I'm sorry, that's on you. Like, you had significant opportunity in Philadelphia. You had so much opportunity. You were recognized on all defense teams. You played at least 20 minutes a game in your first 3 seasons in the NBA. You never got any better. And if you if you're not confident enough in your game to play for a team whose outcomes matter, which is essentially the difference in what he's saying here, is the outcomes in Portland do not matter and the outcomes in Philadelphia do matter, then you should not be on the team, and you are not in a place to play when the games matter in the playoffs. And I think these comments are read in a certain way that I hope that you could read it in a way that is self-reflective and say that I was afraid, and because the outcomes mattered. But like, the comment about like, I fell out of favor for whatever reason is because you didn't play good enough. Like, that's why you fell out of favor. It's because they didn't want to give you another contract because you didn't play well enough. You're wide open every single time from 3. You never got any better at shooting 3-pointers. So I hate, again, not a Doc Rivers fan, but I hate when comments like this end up as a condemnation of opportunity or coaching staff. And I think he had plenty of opportunity here. So that's my comment.
I agree with that. And I agree with what Matisse said also. I mean, I think that, like, we talked about it a little bit on the last podcast, where like the system that the Sixers run is very much just like, spread the floor, let Joel work. Now that Harden's here, spread the floor, let both of them work. And you just got to be willing to step into that when the ball's there. Like, that's what PJ Tucker is obviously doing. That's why they got PJ Tucker, because like, this is the offense. And like, when the ball gets swung to him and he's wide open, he's going to hit it. Matisse is not that kind of player. He is the kind of player that needs to like play with a little bit more flow, play with a little bit more like kinetic energy or whatever. Like, and also he never got better. And also, like, he's not a great fit for that system. And like, playing for a team that is not constantly, just speaking for myself, like clutching, white knuckling death all the time, and the possibility of like failing a generation of Embiid and a generation of like a fan base of an era of process basketball that like is all dependent on like you hitting this one fucking shot, man. Like, yeah, I mean, I think like absolutely, it makes sense. You know, if I was in a situation where like every game was like fraught and everything was intense, and then you go like, oh, okay, like I'll spend a couple years like being in the middle and playing with this like other generational player that plays with a little bit more flow, like, and I can just kind of do my thing and not be as much under a microscope, and the fans aren't groaning every time I like catch a wide open shot. I get it. Like I get it from a human level. I mean, I think in a few years, once he gets that out of his system, he will probably be craving, or most guys will probably be craving the like intensity of like real of mattering, of like a real playoff game and that kind of thing. And I think if you ask Jalen McDaniels, going from Charlotte to here is like, this is exciting, this is new for him. But I think he is being self-reflective a little bit, but also blaming the coaching staff a little bit also. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think really it worked out. This is working out for everybody. I wish he was just here and had gotten better over the last few years, but he didn't, and it was time for him to go.
Joel Embiid, this is per Kyle Neubeck on Twitter. Joel Embiid said about Matisse last night. I talked to him after the trade. I loved him when he was here. Kind of told him I was kind of unhappy with some of the comments he made lately, but it's whatever. It's hard. Playing in Philly is not
Joel
easy.
loves it's whatever.
Yep. It's whatever, but it's not whatever.
Yeah, I'm extremely upset, but it's whatever.
Yeah. It's hard. Playing in Philly is not easy. There's a lot of pressure that comes with it. Every year you're expected to win. Doesn't even matter if they believe you have a good team or a good enough team to win a championship. That's still the expectation. That's why there's not a lot of people that can play here and survive here. Some guys have different mindsets. For some guys, it's all about winning. And for some guys, it's just about playing basketball. He was great when we had him here. I wish him well. I still believe he has a lot of potential. And it's all about him putting the work in, especially shooting and defensively. He's a monster. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I will obviously, I'm very willing to blame the coaching staff a lot of the time, but like the bulk of the responsibility for getting better was on Matisse, and he never did. And also this wasn't a great situation for him. Yeah, it is sort of what it is. And it makes me think like, if you didn't think Matisse was the guy, like maybe you could have given Isaiah Joe a little bit more of a shot, who's playing great basketball in Oklahoma City and also competing on the defensive end. So there is like issues there, and it's frustrating like how it played out. But the team right now is pretty good, and Jalen McDaniels looks pretty good, and hopefully they re-sign him and he continues to get better and all that stuff.
And by the way, this is the same shit we've been saying about Matisse Thybulle for like 2 or 3 years. Some of us more critical than others, but like there's nothing new about this.
But you don't expect guys to get as good as Maxey got, right? Like you don't expect him to go to do that much. But like you do expect some improvement, some like settling in, some like working through the rookie or second year mistakes, and then being able to like get better at these specific things on both ends. You know, improving your defense, improving your offense, being a more heady player, whatever. And I was very willing to look at his passing from time to time and go like, is that it? Are we seeing it? Like I was dying to see it because the defense is distinct and special, and I wanted to see it, and hopefully he gets better in Portland and has more opportunities to make mistakes without, you know, the entire city caving in on him. But yeah, it's as of now, it's better for everybody.
Before we get to mailbag, quick live Ricky 5 update. First, process Hall of Fame voting. Now you have until March 15th to vote on the Ricky thing portion of process Hall of Fame. Of course, we are inducting Mike Muscala. Mike will do that speech.
What if Mike Muscala responds to it?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I hope he does.
We've seen the banners. You guys have seen the banners for those. Also, Andrew Unterberger will induct the Ben Simmons practice photo where he is pouting and has a phone in his pocket. That's actually a jersey, but is still probably a phone. So the voting so far, you can go to rightstorickysanchez.com. In the lead is Daryl Morey on the pod from the bubble as Rockets president. In second place so far, Tony T's legendary performance of Me and Kyrie. Then Robert Covington's reception at the lottery party. Then Jeopardy contestant banned for not saying the name twice. Then booing Tony Snell. Then the Paul Millsap All-Star story, which has less and less of a chance every year because it's further in the rear view, but not because it's me. I loved your reaction to it. It was one of my favorite moments from the pod, as well as the better than Ben Simmons list bringing up the rear. You have until Wednesday to vote. And another announcement, we had said that Eliza Hardy-Jones will perform Imagine the Process, her song, Eliza Hardy-Jones of War on Drugs. Joining her will be Charlie Hall, drummer of War on Drugs, who will perform. Charlie produced along with Eliza's assistants, produced the Eagles offensive line Christmas album, was the brains behind that.
Awesome.
So Charlie will be there as well. And you'll be able to see everything on video in about a week after Live Ricky 5, thanks to Mortgage CS and their commitment to making sure we have a good video presentation of it. So if you're not going to the show, it'll be on YouTube later that week, we are hoping. So before we get, go ahead.
I have a couple quick just finishing thoughts on the game from last night.
Yeah. All right.
Daniel House.
Oh boy.
Nice lob from D'Anthony Melton. We got to call that out. That was cool. I'm becoming just like a dunk enthusiast, I think. I'm just begging people to dunk more. Embiid got blocked on a layup attempt by Drew Eubanks for not dunking. Tobias had a layup last night that was not a dunk. It was frustrating. It could have been a dunk, should have been a dunk. Jalen putting a two-handed dunk on
dunking on a guy
on Eubanks, and then Joel hitting with a drop step dunk also later in the game was nice. So that's my guy. So the Dan House, very nice. Should only be playing with James. Had a nice corner three that was not off of a step back. We have to acknowledge that because it's been a while since Dan House hit a three that wasn't off of a crazy step back.
Yep.
So that's nice to see. And Doc putting him in for defense a few times late. That is a growing level of me and Doc both burgeoning trust in Dan House, and I cannot wait to see how I am hoisted by that petard later in the season. And then the last thing, great D'Anthony Melton game.
Yes. And especially he had a bad 3 weeks, but seems to be working his way back and hitting threes again, which seems to be, like, for a lot of Sixers, the key to the rest of their game.
Yeah, I think he's settling in. Like, early in the season, because of the injuries, he was playing exceptionally well, but taking on a role that he maybe is underqualified for. But he was playing great. And then the injuries came back, and then he had to kind of go back to the guy he was, and he was just sort of missing and having a tough time getting into rhythm. And now we're sort of in a just right role player space. I think he is finishing better. He just needs to be a little bit more choosy about when he's doing it. His finishing at the rim has always been his Achilles heel, just because he goes in hard, he goes in fast, and doesn't have quite the touch or the dexterity to get there. But he's getting better at it. I would just rather him not always go for it, because sometimes it's not the right spot. And I want to highlight one D'Anthony play, because the Joel game winner was obviously excellent, but the block on Dame on the play before from Melton was every bit as impressive and important to winning. Yeah. Joel's man comes up, I think it was Cam Reddish, comes up to screen Dame, which was Dame denies the screen basically just so that he can get Joel out of the paint and have a free lane without a rim protector there. Melton has to stay with Dame 27 feet away from the basket from all the way there. He stays with him the whole time and gets a tough block from behind. That is a really impressive body control and a tough, obviously Dame's incredible. And a really great, I just want to call it out because I'm always hard on the refs, a great no call. Because if they had called it out, I would have lost my goddamn mind. It's a great no call by the refs, great defense, huge play. It's nice. I've always wanted offense defense, and it feels like they don't do it enough. And so obviously D'Anthony is able to stay on both ends, but really nice to see Doc being willing to do that, even if Dan House is that guy. And nice that D'Anthony is just, it feels like he's been sitting a lot in the fourth quarters lately, and it's nice that he's in there playing well, because he's had a really nice, overall, really, really nice season.
Before we get to the mailbag, which is a good mailbag, some good voicemails as well, we'll touch on Jim Boeheim as well. No longer coach of Syracuse. We did get a couple of Boeheim emails and voicemails.
Selection Sunday tomorrow. I am going to be.
Oh, right.
I'm going to be hanging by a thread over the next couple of weeks.
Oh, right. You in the fucking tournament. Oh, yeah.
Come on, baby.
Yeah. I didn't wear my Fordham hat. I was going to wear my Fordham hat. They gave me a hat. I was at Fordham a couple weeks ago. I should have worn it. Briggs Auction, Briggs. CJ's life has changed since he won his first Briggs Auction. Got a bunch of jackets for like $10 or something, right? Something.
Do you have them there, CJ? Do you have them in your childhood bedroom right
No,
now?
I haven't picked them up yet. I think I got to get a delivery set up, but yeah, I'm excited for it.
Okay, keep us posted.
Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process. Briggs Auction been there in Delco for 4 generations, family owned and operated. They had a week off for auctions, but the new one went up. And I'm not a huge vinyl guy. Like, okay, so Briggs Auction basically every week, maybe 3 out of every 4 weeks. Estate auctions, everything. Collectibles, music stuff, art, sports collectibles, clothes, furniture, classic furniture, cars even, all that kind of stuff. BriggsAuction.com or the app, the Briggs Auction app. So the new auction went up yesterday, Friday, and I went to look, and I immediately go to the music part, I go to the collectibles, I go to the art. I'm not a huge vinyl guy, but man, they've got some cool fucking vinyl up. And the vinyl never goes for a lot. It's always pretty cheap from Briggs Auction. There's a lot with a bunch of Soundgarden records. And I think I'm going to bid on it. I enjoy Briggs Auction as a leisure activity, looking through the newest Briggs auctions every week. And I enjoy bidding. It's fun. It's competitive. I enjoy it. BriggsAuction.com, BRIGGS auction.com, or in the App Store or Google Play Store, the Briggs Auction app. You win it, you go pick it up. Pick up easy by appointment during the week, or Saturdays open pickup, or they can work with you on a shipper as well, which CJ will do. And if you want to auction your own stuff, estate auctions, downsizing, whatever you need to do, info@briggsauction.com. That is info@briggsauction.com is the email address. Briggs Auction, Briggs Auction, Briggs Auction. Mike, before we get to the mailbag, your choice, whether we do the Spotify question of the pod or the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week. Your choice.
Let's see what CJ's got for us.
Okay. So the Spotify question of the pod, last pod, should the Sixers re-sign Harden? No questions asked. Ethan, DraftKings Ethan, says re-sign Harden, yes. No questions asked, no. Thomas says, what the fuck else are we going to do? Is there any other realistic option we'd be okay with? Levine or Beal isn't getting traded for Harris, Springer, and some seconds. It's a fair point. Ben says, crab cakes at a Jewish wedding, Mike? Come on, LOL. As for Harden, if he keeps playing at this level through the playoffs, I'm cool with re-signing him. And then finally, 2, yes, but we will be dragged to hell for it. And yes, my self-esteem depends on it. Mike, any comment about the crab cake issue specifically?
No, look, they were good. It was we're a light Jewish, a nice easy
kosher?
Jewish.
Was it a
nothing too firm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told by a couple people who do listen to the pod that the meatballs were better than the crab cakes. So some people prefer the meatballs.
There you go.
I think that really MOC's column has scared me into like just re-signing Harden, no questions asked. Just give him what he wants, and let's just go down with the ship and hope that Maxey, as Harden declines more, which obviously he's had a huge bounce back from year to year. That's not going to continue for several years. But you got to just hope that Maxey gets a lot better, and eventually takes the mantle, and Harden can just be sort of like, whatever, kind of like Ricky Rubio or something like that towards the end of his career, like just like not, Mike Conley, whatever he's doing now, like that kind of deal, like just let him fade off, but still being like relatively effective, but like not even less of a burden on his offensive game.
Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Lionel says, actually, this is good. A good follow-up. One question to rule them all. Would you rather have the Sixers flame out in the first round this year and then give Harden the full max in the offseason, or make the conference finals, have Harden play great in the playoffs, and then have him walk for nothing to Houston?
Conference finals.
Yeah, we need it.
Get me to the goddamn conference finals, for fuck's sake.
I'd rather be happy before I'm bummed out. If those are the 2 options.
Yeah.
We caught this voice.
If they flame out in the first round again, and then you max Harden, you're still a little bit like, this was maybe the best. I don't know. Does this feel like it hasn't ended yet? So it's it's easy to say that you have a little more optimism, but does this feel like the best chance the Sixers have had at making a playoff run in Embiid's career?
So in the moment, I think the answer is no. Because in the moment, I have felt more positive going into the playoffs than I do feel in the moment now.
Because we have the weight of those past playoff disappointments on us now, which is why I'm suffocating under the weight of people saying I'm back, but I don't know if I can breathe.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I also, because of those disappointments, I also feel like I feel weight in that I'm not expecting much, but I think I'm more prepared for them to blow it this time. You know, like I'm just not expecting them to get past the second round. So, taking expectations or trying to of our own like feelings and years of disappointment. Like, does it feel like this team is the best team that they've had? Yes. Yes.
It does.
It does. Yeah, it does. It does.
I think I might still say the Jimmy year. But the case that like Embiid is so much better now than he was then is valid. Could be a toss up.
We already said that. 833 Lickface. So we got this voicemail. Tell me if this sounds like she is artificial intelligence. It doesn't sound like a real person to me. I don't know. Here we go.
Hey, Spike, Mike, and CJ. This is Bethany, originally from Portland, Oregon, and now a 76er fan through marriage. Speaking of marriage, Mike, congrats on your marriage. Nicholas showed me the pics. It looked like a great time despite the freak snowstorm that hit the West Coast. Basketball-related question. Why did the Sixers stink it up so bad? Then give my Blazers such a heartbreaking loss. They really need every win to make the play-in. Semi-non-basketball related question. Why is PJ Tucker no longer wearing the shirt under his jersey? What's changed? It's really killing me. I gotta know.
I don't think she's AI. I think she just wrote it all down and it's
right.
It.
By the way, I don't want to I appreciate that. I would rather have a prepared 40-second question than an unprepared 1 minute 45, which I get from you guys a lot. So that's where I would prepare. So Mike, PJ Tucker is not wearing the t-shirt under the jersey. I think my position is
You've always been anti-shirt.
What's that? I've always been anti-shirt.
Very anti-shirt.
I've been always pro PJ, and I think it's a message to me that like he sees my support.
I think you became more dug in as a PJ guy once the shirt left. That was sort of holding you back.
Absolutely. This comes from Hannah, Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. I've seen two notable jersey swaps with Sixers players lately that I was hoping I could get a bit of airtime on the pod. One, Joel asked Anthony Edwards for a jersey swap.
Yep.
Two, Kyrie Irving asked Tobias Harris for a jersey swap. I'm really just wondering if you've got any takes or theories. Mine are, one, Ant is teammates with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy. So having Ant walk back into the locker room after a big loss was a stealth troll on both of them. Then Ant made it even better by talking about how Joel is obviously the MVP in the postgame.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that theory.
And then two, vaccine and earth shapes aside, Kyrie seems like a genuinely nice guy face to face. My far-fetched theory is that Kyrie is aware of the Jimmy Butler Tobias over me, as well as how JJ bullies Toby for not having a proper wine fridge in the bubble, etc., and thinks they're being too mean. So Kyrie asked Toby for the jersey to compensate.
I don't like that one as much.
No,
I didn't know about that. That there was a Kyrie Tobias jersey swap. What a cursed jersey swap.
Yeah, I can't think of any reason why Kyrie would want. Where's Kyrie from originally?
Jersey.
Okay. Well, Tobias is from Long Island. Is it like a local thing? Is he getting? I don't fucking know, man.
There should be more jersey swaps of DNP CDs.
Yes.
Like I want like Kevin Knox and like Korkmaz to do a jersey swap.
I would still bet on Kevin Knox. I don't know why. Like Kevin Knox.
He's not good.
Yeah.
He was never good. You know, Wes Scher said he was good, and he never was, and I was right about it, and Wes knows.
833 Lickface voicemail.
Hey, Spike, Mike, and CJ. Long time, first time. As the preeminent podcast I listen to in respect for basketball, I just was wondering your thoughts on the retirement of Jim Boeheim. I know it's not exactly Sixers related, but want to hear what you guys have to think about his legacy, college basketball in general, even NBA, and international. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it. Keep it up. The good work.
Now, I am a Syracuse grad, but you are a college basketball guy, so you go first.
And my brother was a Syracuse grad also. And, and
who I went to college with.
That's right. And that Syracuse team, the Carmelo Syracuse team, is the first team that I rooted for that won a championship. So that was a very close team for me. Hakeem Warwick, Jerry McNamara, Craig Forth, Jeremy McNeil. I could just keep naming. I'm not going to.
By the way, when your brother and I were at Syracuse, was the previous Final Four team, the private Final Four team previous to that lost in the finals to that Kentucky team, which I went to. They beat Arkansas, and then they lost to Kentucky.
So Boeheim, and he's been there for fucking ever, man. Like he's been
UMass.
There for
they beat UMass, and
he's been there for a cartoonish amount of time.
Yeah,
and he's ornery in a way that like is a little bit cut the bullshit, and you appreciate it on some level, but also he's just such a dickhead, dude.
Yeah,
he's just such a dickhead. I can't imagine what it's like playing for that much of a dickhead. And he's been like supposed to retire for so long. And he was supposed to hand it over to Mike Hopkins, who's his lead assistant, who ended up leaving for Washington and then coaching Matisse, and running the same matchup zone that Boeheim runs. I on some level, like, not short of respect, but am interested in, or not, and also way short of admire.
What's just under respect?
I don't know.
Aware of?
I don't know. Aware of, like, monitor?
Yeah.
Like that kind of level of like, I'm an institution.
Yeah.
And I've been here forever.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at that and go like, wow, how many decades has that person been there? And that's just very interesting. Just imagining all the horrible things he's probably done.
Yeah.
But he's been there for fucking ever. And that's
something.
And he's had some success.
Yeah.
And I've won a decent amount of money on betting Syracuse and the under a lot of times. Parlay Syracuse and the under was an automatic because they're going to make it hard on people in the tournament. Yeah, I'm glad that it's like beyond time for him to go, because it seems like he's just like resented his players for like a few years now,
as well as the student media for some reason he also hates.
Yeah, all of it. Just, but as long as I don't mind a cranky guy, unless there's like not worse stuff under the surface. But like, I mean, there probably is. But good for him. Retire. Go get some sun, Jim.
Yeah,
he had like 7 of his sons play on the team. They're actually pretty decent.
This was the perfect way for Jim Boeheim's reign at Syracuse to end. Just sort of like after. Like out of nowhere, people are like, "We think Jim Boeheim's retired. He's not the coach anymore." I don't know. He sort of said it in a.
He's like, "I already announced it last week. Nobody picked it up."
Yeah,
he's like mad about it. Just like say you're retiring, you fucking weirdo.
He's just and perfectly for a while. Like they were a powerhouse. I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. But like never, admirably and selfishly, never turned it into a school where like great recruits would go and get prepared for the NBA. They're actually specifically unprepared for the NBA because of how he chose to play defense. And you could see it every time they would get there. It's why Syracuse, outside of Carmelo, for a school that has had as much success in college basketball and held at such a high standard for so long, has had so few NBA players succeed. It's amazing, actually.
Well, Jeremy Grant played one last night.
Yes, right. There you go. Just a stunning consistency to his assholeness. Just below elite performance.
Right.
And just
which I almost admire.
Yeah. The forced out, like every other coach of his success level gets to have like the victory tour because at least publicly, even though they're privately enormous dickheads like Krzyzewski, publicly they come across as like nice guys. Whereas Jim Boeheim is privately a dickhead, but also publicly a dickhead.
Yeah.
Again, just correct. Right below an immense amount of whatever is right below respect for Jim Boeheim.
Yeah. That's our feeling.
Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. This comes from Dan. This is this comes from Steven. What percentage? Yeah, sorry, Dan. We'll get to you next time. What percent? We already did enough MVP stuff. From Steven, what percentage of Embiid's rebounding struggles this year are due to 1, sore shoulder, 2, saving his legs, 3, conditioning, and 4, mental? Doesn't want it enough for most of the game. My vote is 10% shoulder, 40% saving his legs, 20% conditioning, 30% mental. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, he's always only been, I'm looking at his rebounding numbers. He's still a good rebounder. He's still
right around 10%
defensively. It's been bad lately. It's been definitely worse lately.
Since he was off against Miami, he's averaging like 6 rebounds a game. I think that's 6 games or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it could be injury. I think some of it could be, he doesn't have great hands. There's a stiffness to his hands, which I think is why he's not a good passer, or he's an okay passer, but why some of his passes will like spray out into the stands when he's just trying to kick it out to a shooter and it goes flying, or like on somebody's shoelaces. So I think there's a stiffness to his hands, and I think also the shoulder is impacting him. I think it has changed his game to be more ground bound. And just doesn't have the, Jokic is a good rebounder because of like anticipation and like touch, and you can like tap it to himself and stuff. Embiid, it feels like, is not really much in the right position. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all that. And I just hope that in the playoffs he'll be like, all right, I'm getting these balls.
I have a more simple answer. Before, he was like, I just don't feel like doing that right now, and I'm saving myself. And now he's like, oh, people noticed it. Now I'm going to make it even worse. And I think he is purposely letting people get 50-50 rebounds, so he has less rebounds.
People on the Sixers or on the other team?
On the Sixers.
Okay.
I believe he is purposely not getting defensive rebounds so other people get them. 2 quick more voicemails before.
Wait, out of what?
I don't know.
Like, you don't know why. You don't know the reason.
You know how sometimes you like win a video game and then you're like, let me see if I can win it with like the Blazers. I already won it with the Sixers. Let me see if I can win the title with the Blazers. I feel like he's like I think he's amusing himself at this point just to give himself motivation to get through the regular season.
I think if we're in that area, I would say it's like, look, I'm taking all the fucking shots. You can get the fucking rebounds. Like, here you go. Fair. Like, here's your stats. Here's a stat for you. PJ.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a stat for you. You happy, bud? Like a little bit.
833 Lickface. I thought we've been too positive on Doc the entire pod, so I thought you would enjoy this voicemail.
Hey, Spike and Mike. My name is Mike, calling in from Seattle. So I'm reading Grant Hill's autobiography called Game. It's very boring, but I found an interesting tidbit on former Orlando Magic coach Doc Rivers that I thought you guys would enjoy. So it's 2000. Grant Hill's weighing his free agency decision after finishing his contract with the Pistons. He's also working with shooting coach Chip England at the time. And he decided to sign with Orlando with the stipulation that Chip could join the coaching staff in some capacity. Now, this is from page 282. Quote, I called Lon Babby and asked him to inquire about Chip's role within the franchise. They were the ones, after all, who had proposed bringing him on board. Gabriel told Lon that Doc Rivers had had a change of heart, that he didn't believe in shooting coaches. I was crestfallen, although there was not much I could do, end quote. So Chip England, as you guys know, later goes to San Antonio and becomes the most well-renowned shooting coach of all time. So just another layer in the legacy of Hall of Fame coach Doc Rivers and his knack for player development. Thanks, guys.
Doesn't believe in shooting coaches in the Grant Hill book. I would love for somebody to clip that, send us a picture of it.
Sixers Adam, ask about that.
Yeah.
At the press conference. Hey, I have Grant Hill's book here. What an absurd thing to say. There's these guys, and it's almost always guys that have just like deeply held beliefs based on absolutely nothing. And it's just an opinion that they refuse to sort of inspect or think about, and it just is detrimental to their lives. But they're like, it probably sucks. And it's just like it's like both. It's like bias, and it's like just like a broad. He probably had like one bad interaction with a shooting coach when he was a kid, and it was like, I hate them all. Like it's just like a sweeping generalization guy. And Doc is that.
It doesn't make any sense. That he's a basketball coach. He should believe in somebody who makes them better shooters. It just doesn't even seem to make any sense at all. Final, and this is personal because the guy's voicemail made me mad, and I would like to retort. 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike and Mike, this is Omar from Dallas. I'm calling in because I wanted to affirm what Becky was saying. Spike, you are rail thin, bro. You are like super skinny, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. But you could say that like maybe you seem a little underweight if we're gonna be honest, and maybe you would be like a little bit bigger if you ate more protein. But that's fine. You don't need to be. You're probably within a healthy range for yourself. But I'm just gonna say, Becky, you are right. All right, don't let Spike tell you otherwise.
Couple things. First of all, I'm not underweight. I'm 5'10", I weigh 154 pounds. Google it. All of this stuff, whether it be protein or how macronutrients work, is all available on the internet if you just Google it. That's the first thing, not underweight. Second of all, I do think it's funny we are in the most obese country in the world, and somehow, like, me being underweight is the issue. But that's the other thing. As far as being heavier if I eat more protein, shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how the body works. Now, if I were trying to gain muscle, protein is helpful because there are amino acids in protein. And when you tear your muscles, which is what happens when you lift weights, it helps repair the muscles and make them bigger. But if I wanted to be heavier, I would just eat more calories, not specifically more protein. And the easiest way would be to eat more fat because it has more calories in it than protein does. It's fucking idiots. I just like eating protein does not make you bigger. Eating makes you bigger. I want to see a fucking picture of you, Omar. I want your weight and your fucking height. I want to see all of it. And I want to see a fucking list of what you're eating every day. Eat more protein. You won't be underweight. I want to know your fucking waist size. I want to know all of this. And then I want blood work comparisons of how healthy I am versus how healthy you are.
I don't want any of that.
It's fucking pissing me off. It's not how protein works.
I'm just happy Becky is getting some sort of like grassroots support.
If you look at your total calories, make half of them carbohydrates, make the other half fat and protein. Done. Fucking done. That's it. It's not that complicated. It's just not that complicated. All right. I'm sorry. It was personal. It's just making me fucking really, really angry. It's not how it works.
That's all right.
And fucking guy in the chat who says I have smoker arms. I do not have smoker's arms.
Oh, wow.
I don't. I simply don't have smoker's arms.
CJ put out a poll asking whether or not Spike has smoker's arms.
I
can't comment on it. I'm too close.
What I would say is it's clearly harder to see definition because of tattoos, but I do not have smoker's arms.
Okay. We'll let the people decide.
fuck Omar. Honestly, fuck Becky for a second. Fuck you and CJ and everybody. Fucking just
Sixers whiz tomorrow.
Eat more protein. Yeah,
feels like a loss. I'm putting it down now. Sixers whiz feels like a loss. And if the Sixers beat the Wiz, I might be back.
Sunday night. Oh my God, are they even going to play the game? Are the Sixers even going to show up? How many minutes is Jaden Springer going to get in that game?
Better get a lot.
Hold on.
Let me see if Jaden Springer gets any minutes, I'm back.
See if there's
they could lose by 40 if Jaden Springer plays. I'm back.
So there is a line. Sixers are home against the Wizards at DraftKings. Would you like to guess the line, Vegas Mike?
7.5.
It is fucking 7.5.
Take the Wizards in that one.
All right, we will talk to you later this week. We have Wizards, and then is the next game the Cavs game on Wednesday?
Cavs game Wednesday, which would be the tiebreaker game, although they're now a couple games up.
4 games up. Yeah,
looking good. And then Embiid's birthday turns 29 on Thursday.
Wow, he's been around here a long time.
Long ass time, man.
Yeah.
Closing in on 10 years.
We'll talk to you next time. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. You know, Lickface.